my birth control experience again, but because a lot has changed, as in I am no longer on birth control. I still have one more box or pack or whatever that I didn't take. Hello everyone, my name is Antoinette and welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be an add-on to the one that I made quite a while ago about my birth control experience. This time, however, I have a more global perspective of it because I have gone off of birth control. So now I can tell you exactly, like step by step, everything that happened. However, I do suggest that if you haven't seen my previous video, go ahead and check that out, because back then I was experiencing different things and I was like in the middle of it, whereas now I'm looking at it from a distance. Also, this video is going to be sort of like a synopsis, like more like bullet points rather than a dragged on long story. And the way that I formulated it, I have it on my phone, is that I just wrote down, like, if I were to have this conversation with someone who has been on birth control, like experienced everything, and I would be going into it and I would want to know everything, these would be the questions, and it's basically like a question and answer. So I wrote it this morning and I'll be pretty much reading and then adding onto it where necessary. But I don't want to drag it on. I just want to get to the point, because there's a lot to say and I think you should be well informed before making this decision. It's a really big decision and it can impact your life majorly. So let's get started. My first question is, why was I on it? So why did I go on birth control to begin with? On this particular one, the Diane-35, which is a hormonal combination birth control. So I had extreme pain, cystic acne, and unwanted body hair. I never had a beard or anything like that, but I was just like, yeah, I mean, I could, shave less or whatever. So, but the extreme pain was the major factor. I do talk about this a lot in the previous video. Then how long was I on it? 5.5 years. How did it perform for what I took it for? Literally, like, how did it do? And I had no more period pain in the beginning, very slight, and then completely went away. Very little acne, and the amount of unwanted hair was the same. I honestly did not notice any difference in like shaving or whatever. It was the same. Like, I didn't grow a beard, I didn't lose a beard, I didn't have a mustache, I didn't gain, like nothing happened. But in terms of the pain, yes, no more pain. Sometimes I wouldn't even have to take like any pain medication, because at one point my period just stopped altogether. And the acne was very, very rare. Like, I rarely had any, and it would be like a tiny little zit and it would go away. Nothing like the cystic acne that I was used to previously. Unexpected positives. So I quit smoking. I made a video about this because when you're taking hormonal birth control, the chances of your blood clotting, like you forming clots and then dying of clots, is already super high. If you're a smoker on top of that, that makes it even worse. So I did quit smoking. That was a good thing. And I did make a video. I'll link that. It's a funny story. My breast grew. My hair on my head got thick. Like, not only was it, I've always had like a fine sort of hair, like it's pretty soft and it's not coarse. Well, while I was on birth control, it got a lot more. Like, I had 3 times the amount of hair and it was a lot thicker, and I could tell the difference in the strands. Like, one strand would be like, this, what I have now, like flimsy and whatever, and the other one would be like really stiff. So that was something that I was not expecting. And my body shape completely changed. So I went from a relatively athletic body type with very broad shoulders, not big bust. I was a competitive swimmer and then played basketball, whatever. And my waist was not really that wide. I mean, if a pair of jeans would fit over my thighs, I would manage to button them up. However, during like taking this particular birth control, my body shape completely changed. So obviously my shoulders stayed the same, but my bust grew a lot. My hips grew tremendously. So now, like, if I pull up jeans and they fit over my thighs, I'm not going to be able to button them up. Like, it has to be a very I do have a very curvy body now, and it wasn't just my hips that got wider, but it was like the areas in which my body stores fat. So it's more on the tummy. It's like if you think about the nudes from back in the day, the paintings where like they had a little bit of tummy and it was a very like curvaceous, like very, it was an hourglass figure, a very fluffy hourglass figure. That's really what I ended up having, going from a pretty V-shaped, athletic, broad shoulders, nothing else happening sort of body. So that was interesting. Unexpected negatives though. Extreme hunger cravings. I did talk about this in my previous video, and when I went on birth control, I asked my doctor, I was like, am I gonna gain weight? And she was like, girl, the only way you're gonna gain weight is if you eat food. The pill is not gonna make you gain weight. And I was like, okay, fine. Well, honey, it's completely different, because I was waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning with my stomach growling. I was going to bed hungry, and I was having like the weirdest cravings. Like, I would have eaten paint chips, and this is the exact same thing that I said in the other video that I made years ago. It was bizarre. I can't explain it. It was so extreme hunger and cravings, which obviously led to weight gain, a lot of it. Extremely frequent UTIs. I would get urinary tract infections, and like all the time, recurring, like one after the other. And mind you, I'm in a long distance relationship. There wasn't any, because that's usually how you get UTIs, by having a partner. There was no action, so there was no way for me to contract UTIs. And it's not like my hygiene changed overnight and all of a sudden like I wasn't taking care of myself or whatever. You know what I mean? So it wasn't that. I read on it later, and apparently this is something that can happen during pregnancy, that you get a bunch of UTIs. I don't know. I'm just saying, it was horrible. Like, I dealt with it for like 3 months. I've never taken that many antibiotics, and I've never been in so much pain than during that period of time. Looking puffy, I wrote down, and it wasn't just the weight gain, it was kind of like I had water retention, and here I said breast had a weird shape. So instead of like the breast having like the normal, I guess for women, like the best way to describe it is before you get your period, your breasts swell and like your tummy gets a little bit bloated and whatever. Like, I had that puffy feeling the entire time that I was on. So like my breasts, instead of like having that definition where they're attached to your chest, right? It was just like a puff mound. There wasn't a shape to it. It was really weird. So yeah, was not a fan of that. Severe mood swings. It was really bad because I already suffered from depression, anxiety, and this one just took it to a whole new level. And like my fights with my boyfriend were just like off the charts crazy. And the thing is, it was like I was watching a movie. Like, there were words coming out of my mouth, and I was just like sitting back, and in my mind I was like, why am I even saying this? Like, why am I even flipping out over like a different colored pencil or something? You know what I mean? Like, it was pointless. There were pointless fights, and they would turn so severe and so dramatic. So it was horrible. Queasiness in the morning. I felt pregnant all the time. Difficulty losing weight. Now, the fact that I had gained a lot of weight was one thing, but then trying to lose the weight was a completely different thing. It's not that I couldn't lose any weight at all, but it would take me about 3 times as much. So like, if I would manage to lose, let's say 10 pounds in a month, now it would take me 3 months to lose 10 pounds. And mind you, I would have to do the same intensity of like dieting and exercising and everything for 3 months to achieve what I was previously achieving in a month. So it was like close to impossible to keep the weight off and to just level off somewhere. Like I just kept gaining and then trying to lose it, and then I would gain it back. It was just horrible. Then there was no more bleeding at one point. Like after I had made that video, I got my period back. Like I got the bleeding back a few more times, but then it completely went away. And that's not really something to worry about in the sense that it's not a real period while you're on these pills, the Diane-35. Basically you don't have the whole process of like an egg coming and like, you know, I have to explain. So you don't get the egg that can be like, you can get pregnant, and then there's no lining that forms, and then there's nothing to like eliminate like you do in a normal period cycle. So there's nothing happening. It's just when you get off of these pills for like the 7 or however many days, your body has a reaction almost like you losing a pregnancy, and it just has a bleeding happening because of the hormonal withdrawal. So it's not a real period, but it's still, it was weird. No libido, none, zero, zip, zilch. I didn't have any sort of interest in anything to do with anything. And this, you know, like in the beginning, I was like, this is fantastic because I'm in a long distance relationship. Like, who wants to have like a, you know, a flaming libido when you can't have the person that you love next to you? So in the beginning, I was like, yeah, this is awesome. But the problem is that it had other repercussions. So it's, for instance, there was no lubrication. So it was, I said, uncomfortable, painful when stimulated. Now, being in a long distance, I'm not going to get into details, but there was no actual physical whatever. It's just, if, you know, you want to do your thing, girl. It was very uncomfortable, and that was frustrating because it was like, it was broken. It was not like I was menopausal. Like there was no, it was like the Sahara Desert was down there. It was just, it was horrible. So clearly no sex drive, and that resulted in a personality change. And this is what I mean by the no libido thing and the no lubrication, and the, you know, this turned into something more serious because all of a sudden I wasn't taking care of myself, and I just said sloppy and unkempt. So because I didn't have that sex drive, which makes you want to put on heels and like do your hair and like whatever, I had zero interest in that, and like everything to me was like pointless. It just felt like I didn't feel like myself. Like I would be watching music videos, and there would be like, or like listening to a love song, and my reaction would be like, what are they talking about? Like that's such nonsense. Like it's funny and scary to think about it, but like not understanding, not being able to like feel what a love song is, what the message is, or not feeling lust, or just being like, that doesn't exist. It's like, I don't know, like just telling me that there's a black hole in space that I've never seen. I'm like, whatever. It doesn't really, like, I can't understand the people who spend their lives, you know, like interested in this stuff, because to me it's like, I can't touch it, I can't see it, I can't feel it. It was just, it was horrible. So this led to me not really wanting to, like, I wasn't really super driven to lose weight. I wasn't super driven to take care of myself. I have no idea how my boyfriend even stayed with me throughout these years, because let me tell you, I went through some really bad times of like just not taking care of myself, like not giving any thought to the fact that I haven't washed my hair in a week. Like that's just not normal. I'm sorry. And it wasn't, like, yes, I was going through depression, whatever, but it wasn't like, I had been depressed before. I had been depressed my entire life. It was never to this extent where like I had no care about myself. I wouldn't, like before doing my nails or epilating or, you know, dyeing my hair, all of these things, they gave me personal satisfaction. It was something that I was like, I felt good in my skin when I was fresh and clean and smelling good and my hair was done and, you know, my nails were painted and everything. I didn't do it for anybody else. So then it's not like my boyfriend made me do it and then, you know, once I was on birth control, I was like, ugh, whatever. It was like before being in any sort of relationship, these were the things that would give me pleasure, pampering myself and like checking myself out in the mirror. Like, I know it sounds vain, but like I enjoy doing that. So for me to like not get any satisfaction out of any of this was completely like out of this world crazy. So how did I quit? I water fasted. So I decided it was beginning of summer 2017 when I decided to do a water fast for detoxing and spiritual reasons mostly. And I'm an extremist in the sense, like I do everything to the book. Like I'm very Puritan about things. So, you know, when doing my research about water fasting, they were saying like, don't take any pills, don't take any medication, like just drink water and like let your body do what it needs to do. So I was like, you know what? I have been wanting to go off of this medication. I'll go a little bit further into this, but it was just like, it's now or never. Like, I'm going to do this water fast. I'm just not going to take the pill. I wasn't sexually active, so there was no risk of pregnancy. And I was just like, come what may. And then I said, had I planned on quitting, and I said, I was hesitant because of period pain returning, but knew I had to stop taking them. And everybody kept telling me how bad they are for my liver, pickling my liver, non-alcoholic, basically. That's what I wrote. So while I was taking these pills, like every single time that I would go to the pharmacy to pick them up, they would always tell me like, you know, this is very bad for your liver and you should take stuff to like protect your liver. And I did actually try and take the pills that they recommend to protect your liver against alcohol and like medication and stuff, but it lessened the efficiency. So I took the pills, maybe my liver was fine, but my pain came back. So I couldn't take anything to protect my liver. And here I am like trying to live this healthy life, quit smoking, went vegan. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. None of that. And then I'm taking these pills that are supposedly helping me. And then I'm gonna have a pickled liver. And I didn't even like have a bender. Like, you know what I mean? Like I didn't even get drunk. Like it was just ridiculous. And I was like, if I'm going to do this much damage to my body, like at least let me enjoy it, not be in like this miserable slump. So yeah, that's how I quit. It was just cold turkey. I didn't plan it. I was just like, I stopped. I was like, that's it. I'm done. So period after quitting, I said very light at first, very slight pain, got a bit more intense over the following months. Also vegan changes. So right after like the next period that I was supposed to get after stopping the pill, I don't think nothing happened. I didn't bleed. I didn't have any pain. Then slowly I started having like some spotting, not throughout the month, but like whenever my period should have come, which by then I had no idea when it should come because I hadn't had any bleeding for so long. And like whatever, an ibuprofen pill would make it go away. So it wasn't bad at all. Now, however, like after months, it's nothing like it used to be. Like I do have some pain and discomfort, but it's just for like a few hours and it goes away without over-the-counter medication and just taking it easy. Like I can function, I can go grocery shopping, I can walk the dog. It's not like I can't move, debilitating pain, but I can definitely feel it. And my periods are now regular. They're like 27 to 28 days long. And then I regularly have about 5 days of bleeding. So, and I'm tracking my period and it's consistent. So it's doing its thing. And the vegan changes, I do strongly believe that the fact that a lot of people, a lot of women that have gone vegan have said that their periods are much better, less pain, less cramping, and everything after they went vegan. So I think the fact that I'm gonna be in February 1st, I'm gonna be 2 years vegan now. So I do think that that has something to do with it as well. So how long did it take for the pill to leave my system completely? That was 4 to 5 months. So after stopping cold turkey, it took 4 to 5 months until I felt like I was back to normal, like until my libido was back, until I felt normal again. It wasn't just about, you know, how much I'm bleeding or if I'm bleeding. Unexpected positives after quitting. So immediate ease in weight loss, I said, which was true. Like I instantly started dropping pounds without me doing anything. Like I was eating the same as before when I was on the pill, and all of a sudden I was losing weight. So I had done nothing to start losing weight. Breasts looking normal. That swelling and that like water retention looking thing that I had went away, and my breasts started having like a nice breast shape. They weren't like water filled balloons that were like oozing under the skin. It was just, no. So they started looking pretty good. Felt like myself again. I said no more foggy brain, because that's what I felt like. I didn't feel like myself. I felt like I was a spectator, like watching my life. I didn't feel like I was the active participant. So, and it felt like, I felt like I was in a fog, and it wasn't depression. Libido was back. I was taking care of myself, and no more mood swings. Like, yes, I still have fights with my boyfriend, but like now I know exactly why I'm having the fight, and like, we're not just fighting for the sake of fighting. Like there's a reason. It upsets me. I say something, we deal with it, and then it's over. I don't keep going back to the same thing of like, but you bought the pink pencil instead of the green pencil, or like God knows what I was fighting about before. Like it was stupid. It was pointless. Like my fights were pointless, and my mood swings were like nothing would happen. I would just be sitting there like I wouldn't be doing anything, and then like my mood would just go off the charts crazy. So no more mood swings. Now the unexpected negatives after quitting the pill. Not fun. So my hair fell out, and I wrote bald patches, clumps of hair in the bath, hairbrush. So like after it started, I would say 3 months after stopping the pill that I started noticing that I had more hair in my hairbrush when I was brushing my hair. Mind you, while I was taking birth control, I had almost no hair, like no shedding. And before taking birth control, I did shed a lot. So I started noticing like a little bit more hair, but then towards like the 4 or 5 month point, when I would be taking a bath and washing my hair, and I would like go like this with my hand, I would have a lock of hair, like I would be pulling out an extension, and it left bald spots like around here. Like I'm having like all of this like baby hair, like all this new growth. Like I had 2 bald patches here. Like if you watch my video where I'm talking about, relaunching the channel, No More Beauty on Sale, and I have like a side shot like this, you can see how bald I'm getting. Like, and that was not the end of it. That was like in the middle of it. It got worse. So right now I have some regrowth. It's about this much that I've had it, like stuff has been getting back to normal. But I was very self-conscious because it's just, all of a sudden I wanted to be womanly again and take care of myself and do my makeup and like invest in clothes and whatever, and I'm going bald. It was so like disheartening, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to stop it. Turns out this is something that happens normally after a pregnancy, for example. So like during a pregnancy, during those 9 months, for some reason, there's no changing. Like normally your hair will fall out and then new hair will grow and whatever. During your pregnancy, like it will not fall out. That means that there's no new hair follicles growing. So after 9 months, all of that hair that didn't fall out on its own kind of falls out at the same time. Well, that's fantastic, but I was on it for 5.5 years. So you can imagine 5.5 years of like hair not falling out, all falling out in like a span of like 4 months. It was scary. Then continuing with the unexpected negatives, the acne came back with a vengeance, but I said rarely cystic, but more of it. So before I would get 1 or 2, sorry, something on my lip. Before I would have like 1 or 2 big zits that would last me, like the cystic kind of acne, that would last me for like 3 or 4 months. And by the time that those would heal, like I would get like another 2. So I always had like these ginormous, red, angry, painful lumps on my face. So no more of that. But now I get like the little acne that takes like a couple of days to go away, or like even the ones that I don't have them in the morning and then I have them in the evening, or, you know, so more of that, but it comes and goes. It's more like, it has to do more with like now when I'm close to my period or depending on what I'm eating. So yeah, that happened. Things that I was fearing and didn't happen. So I was afraid that the pain would come back, which slightly, but not by any means what was before, that my boobs would completely deflate. That's something that I wrote. Yes, because a lot of people said like, oh yeah, you know, they had their breasts grow and everything, or like be bigger while they were on birth control, and then when they stopped, it's kind of like pregnancy, where like you're done and they just completely disappear. So I was afraid, but luckily, like, yes, they went down, and yes, I lost, but also I lost weight. So it's a combination of 2, but it's not like my boobs went anywhere. Like they're still a lot fuller and bigger than they were before taking birth control. So, you know, and that I would grow a mustache and manly hair all over, because that was another thing. I was reading on forums that people said, you know, once I went off this particular birth control, like I got a peach fuzz all over my face, and I was like, oh my God, like here I am, like not really having problems. Like I would have a strand of hair here and there that I would like have to take care of, but like now I'm gonna have a beard and have to shave. So that was something that I was like very afraid of. And I was afraid of the fact that I might have to go back on the pill and have to take them for the rest of my life. Like that was seriously a fear that I had. I was like, maybe like even, you know, stop taking them, have kids, and then after I have kids, I'm gonna have to either have some surgically invasive thing like having my tubes tied, or just having to stay on birth control for the rest of my life. So now that I've gone off of it and it's manageable, yeah, it's fine. I'll deal with like how not to have babies when, you know, it comes to it. But I mean, I'm definitely at an age where I want babies. So, you know, it's not like it's complicated, but basically if it happens, and, you know, my boyfriend and I have been together for a long time. So if I do get pregnant, then that's fantastic, and we're just gonna have babies. But it's still long distance, so, you know, unless there's no way for me to get pregnant, that's the point. So a little bit embarrassing. So final thoughts, I said I don't regret taking the pills. It did help me quit smoking. I do have a more feminine figure. Maybe it helped me with the pain and cystic acne long term, but all in all, wouldn't want to be on it again. So those are my final thoughts. I don't regret taking it, because at the time, if you watch my first video, I will, you know, reiterate this. I was taking so many painkillers and so many sleeping pills and whatever just to get through my period, that I was close to overdosing so many times. So there was like literally no way around this. Like I had to start taking birth control for the pain. Now the cysts, the acne, I could have lived with it it was annoying, but I could have. And obviously the hair thing, like have manly hair or less manly hair, that was never really an issue. I do appreciate the fact that I have more of an hourglass shape and that I'm curvier. I did have to learn to love my curves because I didn't have them before. So that was definitely a learning curve. But I wouldn't take it back. Like it was an experience. It was a positive experience all in all. It's just, I can't guarantee that everybody's going to have this good of an experience. There are so many side effects, and some of the times when I was on the pill and with those mood swings, it did get pretty ugly, as in suicidal tendencies and suicidal thoughts. So I'm not saying it was the pill 100%, but it was definitely contributing to it. So it made everything more difficult. It made being in a relationship more difficult. It made living my life more difficult. So now I'm looking back and I'm like, oh, it's fantastic. You know, I would do it all over again. But while I was going through it, I wasn't so sure that I was doing the right thing. So, yeah, just have a long conversation with your doctor about these pills, and don't just take them because like your friend took them or whatever. It can, like, people have died from these pills because of blood clots. So it's not something, it's not like a food supplement that it's like, oh, whatever, it might work or it might not. Like, this might mess you up seriously. So depending on your age and your health and all of those factors, you need to have a serious talk with your doctor and see if this is the right thing for you. Now, if, again, I'll repeat this, if the only reason why you want to take, you know, birth control is to not get pregnant, don't even touch these. Don't mess with these. It's pointless. This is a treatment for acne and a treatment for facial hair and like being more masculine than feminine. Basically, that's what it is. It's a treatment. It's not just so you don't have babies. So, you know, just try something lighter. There's so many other pills out there that are not a combination, a hormonal, because these pills contain 2 types of hormones, and these are much harder on your body. So if it's just that you don't want babies, maybe don't even look into birth control. Maybe just try, like, as in pills, try some other forms of like non-invasive birth control. But I don't know about that. I don't know how efficient they are, because in the entire period of time that I took these pills, I was not sexually active. So I don't know if you can get pregnant on these pills or not. It's just, I don't know. That was kind of embarrassing to say, but there you go. That's another thing, abstinence. Like that's a big part of my life. So it's not a shameful thing. It's a choice. And, you know, I guess to each their own. So I'll let you know when I have babies. I mean, they're probably going to see it. Okay, this is getting a little awkward. So I'm just going to go. Thank you so much for watching. If you do have questions that I didn't cover or anything, just leave them down below. I'll get to them as soon as I can, and stay tuned for more videos. Bye guys.